This is the debug application activity in JavaScript. I have the project open in VS Code. That's the tool we're going to be using for debugging this today. This is basically this activity. I want you to spend time exploring the debugging tools. So I'm not going to walk through the entire thing. I'm only going to get you started. We have this here. We do need to run an npm install command. So let's go and run npm I and npm i-dev. We'll make sure all of those get installed, so we're good to go there. We can run the test through npm test, and we want to demonstrate that we have a failing test. We may need to run this a few times. All right, so there's our failure, our first failure. We can see that we were expecting John Smith, but we got Paris Hilton. We'll run it again. Same error, let's run it again. Same error, run it again. There we go, we expected Paris Hilton, we got Minnie Mouse. Run it again. I'm gonna keep running it until I do get, there we go, we get a success. So occasionally this is going to succeed. So there's an intermittent problem. There's something happening and it is randomly succeeding and failing, and we're not quite sure why. The goal of this exercise is to use the debugging tools to figure that out. What we need to do is set up some breakpoints. So I'll start off with the test file itself, patientdata.test. We can set up our breakpoints using VS Code. So we'll start on line 10, line 21. So line 10 is here, and I'm hitting the little red icon, the little red button or circle next to the line number. So 10, 21, 23, 26, 30, and 32. So there's our breakpoints. These should pause. I can do the same thing on the app.js file. So I'll open up app.js and I can set these up. I'm not going to set those up. You should. I'm just going to skip that for time's sake. But these breakpoints are going to pause whenever we debug the test. Now, if I just run the test again, it still runs the test. It does not pause anything. What I'm going to need to do is go to the run and debug icon here. And up here, you can see it says Mocha test. It figured out that these are Mocha tests. I'm going to start debugging, and now it's going to pause. We can see the yellow line saying this is our first breakpoint. That's the first one I set. It's now breaking here, and I can step over, do what I need to do to see what's happening. Step over simply goes to the next line, which actually wasn't very useful. So let me stop and re-debug this. And I'm going to set a breakpoint here on 12. Let's navigate through. So now we're on 12. I'm going to step over this line, and now we can hover over patient so we can see the values. It says there's 5 different elements, 0 through 4. I can expand those and see what's happening. There's also, you can see the locals up here. I can expand these and see what's happening. And then watch, I can add something to watch. So I can take patients and, well, I can just add it in. So we'll say I want to watch patients 0. And so now I can watch the 0th patient to see what might be happening with it. Step over simply executes this line and stays in the same method. So if I step over patient sorter, it simply moves to line 22. However, let me start this over again. Instead of stepping over, if I step into, this is going to behave differently. Instead, it's going to go into the method, which is a constructor here. And now we can see the code that's happening inside this constructor. Once I'm done, it comes back out and then moves to the next line. So step over stays in the current method where we are and simply executes that line. Step into will go into that method so we can see how that method executes before coming back out to the previous method. Those are basically the tools. So at this point, see if you can experiment, see if you can find out why are these tests sometimes failing. I will give you a hint. You're going to need, the problem is going to be in the patient sorter in app.js, but you're going to need to see the interplay between the test file and the patient sorter class. Good luck.